Hello everyone. We have a game with the white pieces against Sakaru, rated 1574. He gives us the whole center, so we're going to take it. And he plays a French defense against us. Hopefully you're all familiar with the French defense, and we play the advanced variation by pushing our pawn. He strikes at the center with c5, and we're simply going to defend our center with c3. Okay, he plays a pretty rare move, closing down the center with c4, and this creates a super locked position. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I guess we're just cutting the board in half, and we're just gonna play on our respective triangles and see what happens, right? So he pushes his pawn. He's gonna push these pawns. I'm gonna push the opposite pawns, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Do I want to put my queen here though? And is a4 a move? This halts his pawn advance. If he tries to support his pawn advance and we do something on the other side and he pushes his pawns and we take and he takes, so that would leave an open A file for us, B file for him. That's reasonable. If we just let him push all the way, or we stop at this point, that's also fine. So do we want our queen here? Or do we want to go g4 and f5? I feel like the queen here is a nice idea. Let's go for it. It restricts his dark square development, not that he can move it anywhere but here anyway. Okay, so he does continue this. So maybe if we can accumulate some pieces. We could even break down the structure immediately on the other side. You can always attack the front or the back. If we attack this way, and he takes and takes, that's fine for us. If we attack and he doesn't, and we take, and he takes this way, then you have like a weak c3 pawn. So we're going to do one of the options we said and just play a3. In either case, our rook gets opened up, and black really doesn't gain anything from this operation. So he attacks my queen with the knight. That's fair. But his knight's also going to get harassed in the future, I feel like. The question is, where do we want to move our queen? Do we want to go, let's say, here and provoke a pawn move? That's a question. That loosens up his knight a little bit. So let's provoke a pawn move. It weakens the dark squares. Every pawn move he makes here will weaken his king if he's castled there. And it's hard not to play this move for a lot of players because it's like I'm asking for it, and I am asking for it. Okay, so he plays this amazing rook lift, which I was not expecting. Awesome. Pretty cool. Don't know why exactly, but it's pretty cool either way. So now I want to, let's just say, develop a knight. Maybe we can bring it towards this side of the board. And now he pushes with the pawn. Okay, so maybe he put it here so it was defended. So now his isn't hanging when he recaptures. So that's probably the reason. Okay, so let's trade once. Take his rook. Now he can't castle that way because he doesn't have a rook. So he's forced to keep his king here or castle into danger. So he puts his bishop here, but it's blocked. And I mean, I can change that if I want by taking, giving him this developing move, and then I get a square for my knight. If I let him push past, his bishop is terrible, and he can never come to this side of the board and help. If he takes, I mean, yeah, of course you just bring the knight out, so I'm just gonna ignore that side of the board. I kind of want a castle, if I'm being honest. So let me put this bishop here and castle and get my rook on the f file and launch an attack on this side of the board, but not prematurely unless he does something dumb, but appropriately at the right time once I'm castled and have a little better development. In the meantime, if he ever kicks my queen, I can always drop back to h3 and it's fully safe there from any harassment, while keeping pressure on his knight, which is loose, kinda. So he did this whole thing on the queen side, but to what end? So he develops his knight, which is not going anywhere unless he goes this way, clogging up his own squares. So we're okay with that. So let's castle. Let's not think too long. Okay, oh, he goes this way, which is I wasn't expecting. I guess he's looking to go in here, but that doesn't do anything but hit the bishop. And let's say I move the bishop. Then what? That's kind of interesting. Okay, now that we're castled, we could go g4. But if we go g5 and the knight hops in here, we would, we don't want that. So if we go g4, we would play f5. I kind of think that's a good plan. Our king is completely safe because this is completely locked. I mean, you could throw in, let's say, king h1. Maybe slightly safer, but you can also argue it doesn't do anything, probably. So he jumps his knight in here. So let's just get this out of the way, because it's funny, and it develops the bishop and says, why'd you put your knight there? I guess the only other circuit is this. I mean, then you could just go back. That's really stretching it. Okay, so he finally doesn't know what to do. Hits the queen with which softens up the knight a bit. According to our plan, we drop back to h3, where it's safe and still supports this f5. But now he played g6, which controls that square. So if we push and he takes and we take and he takes, maybe we can sack a rook there, or we can try to attack his light squares. Or maybe after pushing once and he takes once, we intermezzo the knight that's hanging. That's a free piece. So yeah, we do that. See, I was tunnel visioned on f5 square. Forgot all about the hanging knight, which I kept talking about. We're softening it up for this whole time. Okay, so he moves his queen away from his king to attack our weak pawn over here. I guess, I mean, that's what you have to do if you're going to just do this, but you're leaving your king, so that weakens this diagonal, and now's the time to play f5. And what are the chances he sees his knights hanging? Not very good. I predict a pawn capture. If he does see his knights hanging, he could bring it back home. You could play f6, which is kind of mean, but then you're also clogging everything up. I think it'll be easier to win if you just open up the f file. But you could do like f6, g5 bind, but that would just mess up all your advantage, so it just looks cool. Because you need some avenue to get your pieces in. You don't want to clog up everything, because he already clogged up this side of the board. So we want to break through on the king that there's zero chance castling's good for him. He can never castle this way. his best bet would be to like move his knight, clog up the queen side fully, and then put his king somewhere here because then it'll be safe. But he doesn't have time for that because I'm immediately attacking his king side structure with f5. So this blows up the f file or wins the knight. So yeah, you know, that's that. So he wasted all of these tempi, right, on these moves after he blocked up the center with c4, and they have completely zero relevance to what I'm doing to him over here. And so that's, I mean, if you're not in time, it's like everything you're doing was a complete waste. At least if you fight on the same side, it's like 1-for-1. You feel like you're doing something, but if you just do all this work and like none of these moves have any effect or relevance to what I'm doing, and you can't stop what I'm doing now, then it feels terrible for black. And that's why in the French they generally keep the pawn on c5 and keep the tension, because once you push past, you're releasing the tension and you're ruining your main plan of pressuring the d4 square. So he moves his queen, which threatens the pawn. Do we care about the pawn? Well, I was wrong. I was expecting a pawn capture, so I lost there, but I did win the knight, so let's take the knight. Are we expecting resignation? Maybe. No, he takes the pawn. What does this threaten? The bishop and some other stuff. Okay. But we're up a piece. Our bishop's hanging, but we're up a piece. Our bishop's hanging, but we're up a piece. Bishop's hanging, but we're up a piece. Let's take his bishop. And he takes our bishop. Piece for piece. What is he threatening? A singular check and my c3 pawn. Our bishop is currently hanging. Bishop takes b4, gets the bishop away, removes this threat, his only asset, which was that extra b pawn, and sets up checkmate threats on the dark squares, which he cannot stop easily because his queen is on the wrong side of the board when it comes to defending his king. So you would say, okay, well, the queen's on the attack, but is it? With what coordination? This knight? Nope. This bishop? Nope. It's a lone queen, a singular check. And then he can try. He can't go there. He can't go there. He can't even run his queen back to any dark squares. So if he immediately goes here and we go checkmate, yeah, I don't know what he does. I guess he runs his king. But then it's going to be, you know, eventual checkmate, I guess. Yeah, so I was it's funny because I saw this before I played bishop takes bishop, because I was considering, well, what if he takes this? And then I'm like, I thought I was going to go here and set up the checkmate threat, and then after he made the move, I saw I could actually take the pawn with the same idea, so you might as well take the pawn. But if he took the bishop and if he took back with the rook, I was thinking of sacking this bishop and just opening up the f file, but I could look at that later. He gives me that random check. I move to the side because I have 2 minutes. I don't want to run out of time analyzing in the middle of a game. Wait, so he takes something. Who cares? And now, how does he stop checkmate? He has to run his king. And he's not threatening this knight ever. And this rook. As long as I stay on the offensive. Should be fine. Could always go king here and rook here, and his queen can't harass you. So let's give him some checks and see what happens. This looks bad for him. I also have this. That's kind of cool. But this forces this. And then that's checkmate in 2 or 1 or 2. Oh no, then he gets out this way. Okay, so we don't want to take the bishop because then he'll block, and when we take the second piece, he'll escape. We'll give this check. He'll go here. I don't want to calculate that. I think we can just go to the diagonal, and where he can't block with the knight, and then he has to block this way, and then that's just checkmate, and he doesn't escape, right? Hopefully you're following that. So this allows the knight to block, and then his king has escape. But the diagonal check, either one probably, yeah. He has to block this way, and it's checkmate. That's pretty cool. And look at his queen. Look at his rook. I mean, we weren't that far ahead in time, but enough is enough, I guess. So that's a weird and awesome checkmate. I don't know if I've ever had that checkmate construction like this with the king on the side of the board on a4. This might be a first with this weird pawn, protect the bishop, protect the knight. Super weird, but it works. That was cool. I haven't played a French game where they play c4. I don't even know how long. I don't even know the ideas, so hopefully I figured out some of them. As the game analysis goes, we take the whole center. If they let you, you do it. In the French, you have lots of lines. Whatever openings you face, pick a line, find a line, and play it. Yeah, don't switch it up every game. Don't do anything like that. Just play the line and get used to it and get better at it. So we push, and he attacks the center. We defend the center, and he pushes past. So computer says immediately you can just break it down. I'll think a little later I mentioned that, but we just keep increasing our pawn chain on the other side of the board, and he does the same. So we're just doing the same thing on the opposite side of the board. We put our queen here. Computer still wants us to break down this chain immediately, but both moves are playable. You could also probably have gone g4 there. He increases his pawn chain. We play this move, but what does the engine even say? Like, yeah, it doesn't even care because it doesn't matter. He attacks our queen, so this is a forced move. We develop a piece towards the center. And then here you could probably even just ignore it again, but either way it makes no difference. So now we get this position, and it's like, it's closed. He's going to try to push an attack this way. You're going to try to do it on the other way. You know, it's just whatever. He develops a piece, but it's not going anywhere. We castle. Is this a blunder? Oh, I mean, I played g4. It's weird to say that's a blunder because of g4 when they seem completely unrelated. I guess they're just saying they wanted his knight on the king side for defense. I don't know. But we go g4 anyway. And this is the start of where our position just gets better and better. Like before it was equal. Engine says black was, you know, minus 0.4 better at some points. Sometimes white was plus 0.4 better at some points. But now it's, as of this move, as of this move, it just keeps building from this point. Um, so starting with g4, black is getting squished. He attacks our bishop. We move our bishop. He attacks our queen. We move our queen. We're setting up f5 and winning the knight. He goes here, hanging the knight, but with these weird ideas. But he's down a piece, so not much you can say about that. That's funny because the engine says you can hang this bishop and just take f8. Nice. I was considering that, but I was considering it after the bishop trade. Wait, what was the best move? Bishop d1. Just moving the bishop out of the way, hitting the knight, but hanging. Oh god. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't listen to the engine. So we took the bishop. He takes this bishop, but that's a mistake because it sets up checkmate threats that I don't think he can stop. And it's +4. So luckily I felt that it was winning, and it's confirmed, you know, clearly winning. Yeah, and it's just checkmate. Really cool construction. 3 inaccuracies, 93% accuracy. I don't really know a lot about the c4 structure. I might have to look at and see what's like the right way to play against it, or see, you know, what b3 immediately leads to. Exactly what that structure looked like after you play b3 immediately. I guess I'll try that next time if it happens again. Alright, so now you know if they play c4, maybe try b3 immediately. So make your rapid games in my Discord. Good luck in your chess.